It's Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine. The government shutdown begins at midnight unless Democrats decide at the last second that this is actually a terrible idea, and this will backfire in every possible way, but I doubt it. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee held the session titled Blue City Chaos and Tragedy, how the Trump administration is addressing the human cost on soft-on-crime policies. Also, President Trump and the CEO of pharmaceutical giant Pfizer will begin providing some of their most popular medications to the American public at up to a 100% discount. Also, in just 5 days, the DEA seized over 1 million counterfeit pills and 77,000 kilograms of narcotics. And the U.S. Attorney's Office in L.A., they announced that 5 members of a street gang were arrested for attempting to plot an assassination against a local crime boss. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, signed 11 new memos while announcing the reinstatement of our previous military fitness standards. And President Trump announced his administration will be doubling the funding for the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative, which Trump implemented back in 2019. The president also directed the federal government to prioritize the use of artificial intelligence for pediatric cancer research. And the Federal Trade Commission announced that Amazon will be issuing automatic refunds to millions of Prime users after a $2.5 billion class action settlement was reached over practices used by Amazon that made the unsubscription of Prime an unreasonably difficult process. And there's a lot more to get to, so we're just going to head right to it. And if you like the video, please give the video a like. And if you have just a quick second to subscribe, please do so. It would really be appreciative if you subscribe to the channel. I do the Swamp Monday through Friday every evening. It's usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Covers everything that happened in the swamp, at least everything I came across, most of which you're probably not going to see anywhere on the news. And everything that I go over is typically less than 24 hours old, most of which is really even less than 12 hours old. So we're going to dive right in with U.S. Senator John Fetterman. It's a sad day for our nation. Our government shuts down at midnight. I voted aye to extend ACA tax credits because I support them, but I won't vote for the chaos of shutting our government. My vote was our country over my party. Good. I'll give you a clap for that one. Together, we must find a better way forward. It's just really funny back when John Fetterman was first running. That was in 2020, right? I think that's when he was running against Dr. Oz, and he had a stroke. That's what he ended up having, that stroke. He was laid up in the hospital for a while. The word around the campfire was that he had some brain damage and everything, and so everybody was just kind of up in the air with regard to if he was even going to win, let alone be a decent politician after he won. But he's been a hell of a lot more base than I would have ever expected. That's for damn sure, especially being a modern Democrat. I mean, he's not sided with them on a number of issues. So, he not 100% on this side of not only based, but also in reality. But hey, man, I'll give him credit where credit's due. Matter of fact, I'll give any Democrat where credit's due. But they just don't have a whole lot of credit these days, to say the least. Not really much of anything. But anyway, here's a video from John Fetterman. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hi, this evening I just voted for 2 CRs tonight. And the first one votes to affirm that we would like to extend the ACA tax credits because of course I voted for health care. The second vote is about making sure that we keep our government open, and I did vote for that.
Good.
Because I think it's a sad event if we shut our government down later today. So for me, our nation doesn't believe that kinds of chaos. Now, for me, it's about more over the country, not the party in this kinds of moments just like this.
All right. Well, then, in that case, we only need 6 Democrats in the Senate to vote yes in order to keep the government open. So John Fetterman already voted, so they're already taking votes on this matter. So it's interesting what Democrats have been saying. They've been saying that Republicans have voted to shut down the government. They've been saying that every day for at least a couple of weeks now. Every single day, they've been saying the same thing over and over. They're voting to shut down our health care, or skyrocketing our health care. They're voting to shut down the government. And today, Democrats in lockstep, they've all been saying that Republicans are on vacation. They're not here. They're on vacation. They're on vacation. They're on vacation. Like, I've been reading that over and over again today, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So what we're going to have to look at tomorrow, which Democrats are they're not going to own it. In fact, the mainstream media is going to bury this, but we're going to have to take a look at the vote tally, take a look at how many Republicans voted yes and how many Democrats voted yes to keep the government open. And look by just a simple percentage. Did 100% of Republicans vote yes? I'm sure they're going to. And what percentage of Democrats voted no? It looks like it's going to be like, 90 or 95% or something like that. I mean, the Republicans got John Fetterman on their side, but I believe he is the only one in the Democrats. So when you look at the total vote from this evening, it should be out by midnight at the very latest. Then the country will get to see who truly voted to shut the government down. So that is going to be very interesting indeed. Of course, Democrats, they're either going to spin it some way or another, or I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They're just going to make it look ridiculous. So this is Rep. Eric Swalwell. I want you to understand what voting for MAGA budget means. One, your healthcare costs immediately go up. Really? Tomorrow? They're skyrocketing tomorrow, huh? Number two, hospitals close. Uh-oh. And number three, cancer research ends. Well, that one didn't end very well. So I'm not a no. I'm a hell no. A no for what? A no for keeping the government open? Yeah, we know that. You're a hard no for keeping the government open. You want to close down the government, which is really funny because the whole cancer research ends. I mean, look, he probably posted this before Trump made that announcement, but he announced that they are doubling the amount of money that they're putting into the childhood cancer data initiative. So I thought that was kind of funny because he specifically talked about cancer research, even more specifically to children, to see if we can get that going in a more quick direction, especially with regard to AI. And with the whole healthcare costs going up, they're talking about the tax credit that is due to expire. I think it's on November 30th. This tax credit went into place back in 2020 because of COVID. Is COVID still a problem today? No, COVID is not a problem anymore. They were giving out tax credits during COVID season so people would get a break on their health insurance so they wouldn't have to pay so much because a lot of people were getting furloughed. A lot of people were behind in their rent. They had the moratorium going on. There were a lot of things happening during COVID. So the government decided, well, we're going to give people breaks on their health care, Obamacare specifically, and that is due to expire at the end of this year. Of course, Democrats aren't saying that, and interestingly, most Republicans aren't saying that either, but that's simply what's happening. They're just allowing that tax credit to expire because COVID is over. There's not any more need for it other than trying to keep healthcare costs artificially down. So, I don't know, man. I guess we'll just have to see what happens. And this is from Reuters. Senate floor as U.S. shutdown looms over spending. It doesn't look like it's live anymore. It was live when I found this 2 hours ago. Yeah, so, yeah, they ended up killing it probably about 10, 15 minutes ago, actually. Probably at 8:30. That's probably when they stopped this feed here. So they might have a new one up, or maybe they're done for the evening. Maybe they're just going to allow the clock to run out up till midnight. Yeah, the live event. Senate adjourned until October 1st at 10 a.m. Okay, yeah, so it's a done deal. So the government will be closed.
Using healthcare.
I'm assuming.
We need to recognize that a president who can't even be bothered to learn about the hurt that is being put forward by his own party when it comes to our healthcare. That our bill is not one that
COVID's over and we don't need to be funding that shit anymore?
We need leaders who understand what is going on. We need leaders who care about the people they are supposed to be leading. We need leaders who will actually be the adults in the room. And yes, so I rise today to make that promise to New Jersey and to the American
Democrats
people
have been
that
adults?
I will keep
Are you fucking
fighting
kidding?
for you and fight with you as we go through this. And we're going through uncertain times. We're entering unprecedented times.
This is going to backfire so badly on Democrats.
And I know that this
is not going to be good for them.
But again, we remember why we fight here.
Now remember, when it comes to people who work in the federal government and vote, those who vote and work in the federal government, the overwhelming majority are Democrats. Overwhelming majority. So people who are going to quit getting paid, which a lot of people in the federal government are going to quit receiving their paychecks, guess who's going to be the loudest? It's going to be Democrat voters. And that's also going to be another element of this backfiring against them.
Given this speech, I'm worried about the care that my
I'll
father's
only play this
getting.
for like another second or two. I honestly didn't expect to play it. I just wanted to show that it was live, but it's not live anymore.
Every single one of us knows what it's like to have a loved one struggling when it comes to their care. And I know everyone
thanks to
knows
Obamacare,
that experience
asshole.
of saying that we would try to move heaven and earth to be able to make sure that they get the care that they need in their time of greatest need. And how can I, when I stand by,
and look, I've said this so many times already. Health insurance back in the 2000s was amazing compared to where it is now. Look, people back then were complaining about health insurance being unreasonably expensive, and then Obamacare kicked in and everything really went crazy. Deductibles, like I think my insurance deductible is like $6,000 or $8,000 that I have to pay out of pocket before I'm at my ceiling, and then my insurance starts covering it beyond then, I think. Or maybe they just start denying me once I get to that point. I don't know. All I know is that it's unbelievably shitty compared to what it used to be before Obamacare.
And that's what we're going to fight for. We're going to fight for better. With that, I yield back the floor.
All right, well, that's good timing. I'm not going to keep going with that. I'm sure pretty much everybody who's probably speaking are probably Democrats, but I don't know. Maybe they're going back and forth, Republican, Democrat. I don't know. Whatever. So anyway, this comes from Libs of TikTok. Breaking: suspicious package and possible bomb threat found at Utah State University ahead of TPUSA event. An evacuation was ordered. The bomb squad arrived and appeared to have detonated it. They could be heard saying, "Fire in the hole," before an explosion was heard. This was just 2 hours ago. So during the late afternoon hours. You hear that? I'll play it again if you didn't hear it. Oh. Uh-oh. Fire in the hole. Isn't that crazy? It looks like they're right here. I see movement right there. Wow, man, ain't that wild? Fucking leftists, man. Planting bombs and shit. Do you think they're going to find out who did it? Probably not. I bet there's cameras all over the place, though. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, I'm sure the university is probably not going to cooperate a whole hell of a lot, as universities are pretty much dominated by the left at this point. But what do I know? Hopefully they will get to the bottom of it. All right, so 3 hours ago from Fox News, President Trump, where did you learn how to speak like that? 16-year-old childhood cancer survivor wows Trump, rather. She wows Trump as she tells her story in the Oval Office. Let's take a look at this.
My name is Carolyn Hendricks. When I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a pediatric bone cancer. 11 years later, I'm now 16 years old, and I'm doing great. What you're doing today, Mr. President, means that kids like me will get better options and so much more hope for the future. This will help doctors use technology to find cures faster, match patients to trials more quickly, and give our families more control over our health. For kids, every day counts. This order shows that our lives matter enough to be first in line for innovation. On behalf of children and young adults with cancer, those still fighting and those in remission like me, and families who wish that they had more time together, thank you for making us a national priority. Mr. President, because of actions like this, kids like me have the chance to grow up, to chase our dreams, and to live full lives. And that is the greatest gift anyone could ever give.
Wow, that was so good. Your father could not have done that. You did us a big service, Father.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Where did you learn how to speak like that?
I've done lots of speeches for childhood cancer over the last few years, and I'm also in a theater program, so that's
great.
A lot.
Well, good. That's a great job.
Yeah, very cool. And I've got more details on what he passed. So usually I put everything in order. Honestly, today was kind of a busy day for me, so I didn't have a chance to put everything in order. And I collected over 50 posts. I think that's a record for this show so far. I think I collected like 53, 54 different posts for this episode. Hopefully it won't go too long. A lot of them are video clips, though. Whereas yesterday I had a whole bunch of articles I was reading, so that one went a little long. I don't think I have as many. But anyway, we'll get to that. It's going to kind of jump around a little bit. Not too crazy much. There really honestly wasn't a whole hell of a lot that happened today. But either way, man, every day in the government's busy. So this is from Breaking 911. Holy cow. Feds repelled from Black Hawk helicopters during a Chicago raid to target alleged Tren de Aragua gang members. The operation involved around 300 federal officers. What the fuck? This is crazy. In Chicago, right? Yeah, Chicago.
Officials
to that apartment complex. Some even rappelled down from Blackhawks onto the rooftop in order to help secure that perimeter. Now, they were searching for suspected members of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Of course, TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization under the Trump administration. Now, it was the biggest show of force that we've ever seen on the ground here. We had agencies, FBI, Border Patrol, ICE, and ATF all involved here, and they were all looking for targets in that same exact building. It was a 5-story building. It was a tall task for them, and anything could have gone wrong.
It's a little better.
But luckily, the operations went pretty smoothly. Preliminary reports show that about 30 illegal immigrants were arrested in this operation, some of them suspected Tren de Aragua. Now, we talked with Chief Gregory Bovino, who's running the operations on the ground for many of these ops in Chicago, and he had some words for people that are pushing back against his operations. Take a listen.
How about you live in the apartment next door to Tren de Aragua members that are trafficking in prostitution, guns, drugs, and taking advantage of American citizens in a violent
city of Chicago
way?
protects
Why don't you
them.
live next to them and then see how much of a Gestapo or a Nazi we are?
Ha! Fucking slam dunk on that one, dude. Pick up that mic, Democrats. Absolutely. 100% correct. I mean, look, they've been, how long do you think that they've been living in that building in Chicago? What, 5 years, 6 years, probably? At least a few years. And Democrats have done fuck all about it. And I'm sure that people around that area are probably scared to death, man. Because Tren de Aragua, they're among the most dangerous gangs in America, them and MS-13. All right, Senate Judiciary Republicans. So I'm going to play some of these clips with regard to the hearing that was from today. It was called the Blue Sky Chaos and Tragedy, how the Trump administration is addressing the human cost of soft on-crime policies. That's a long one. Anyway, in Governor Pritzker's Chicago, the duty to protect and serve extends only to his political allies. This month, police under Pritzker's sanctuary jurisdiction refused to answer calls for assistance when violent rioters physically assaulted Fed immigration officers. Yeah, of course, they're not going to offer any assistance at all.
The act of, quote, upholding the rule of law,
Ooh,
end
it's
of
really
quote,
loud.
is not a political exercise for an election season. Just this month, the Department of Homeland Security reported that police under Governor Pritzker's sanctuary jurisdiction refused to answer multiple calls for assistance when violent rioters physically assaulted federal immigration officers.
Yep, I'm sure they
The
did.
act of,
I'm very
quote,
sure they did. All right. So this comes from J.D. Vance. Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Fancy that. So this comes from Western Lensman. Back in 1996, Chuck Schumer rails against illegals getting taxpayer-funded benefits because it incentivizes more illegal immigration, which it does. Quote, people say, why can't you stop illegal immigrants from coming here? Unquote. Okay, there's another one. And then Chuck is now threatening to shut down the government over illegals getting taxpayer-funded healthcare. I prefer not to read the quotes because he's just going to say it anyway, so let's give this a play.
This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Oh my God, man, they would call him a MAGA Nazi today, wouldn't they? Fuck yeah, they would. Damn, Chuck Schumer. Looks like the party can flip after all. All right, let's head to the next one. Next one. So we're going to head back to the Senate Judiciary Republicans. I think so I got a few from this one here. So we're going to check first with Watch D.C. Police Union Chair Greg Pemberton calls out rampant corruption and violence interruption programs. Let's see, quote, violence interruption in D.C. is a grift. It's a way for tax dollars to get funneled into the hands of criminals, and quote, real crimes deserve real consequences. Take a quick look, 38 seconds.
There's almost no evidence of any efficacy of these violence interrupters. And as a matter of fact, one of our city council members has been indicted for accepting bribes from a violence interruption organization. And I can name at least a half a dozen suspects who've been arrested for murder, gun charges, drug charges, other violence charges, who have been paid by violence interruption organizations. This violence interruption in the District of Columbia is a grift, and it is a way for tax dollars to get funneled into the hands of criminals. We shouldn't be spending a dime on violence interruption in the District of Columbia. There is absolutely zero proof that it works or that it has any level of efficacy whatsoever. The District of Columbia.
I'd be curious to know how much money they're actually putting into that. Well, I'm sure it's got to be in probably the tens of millions, if not more than that. It fucking surprised me. Senate Judiciary Democrats this time. Senator Booker. Congress should be working together to keep Americans safer, but Republicans have chosen to play partisan politics instead. Yeah, okay. Accuse the other side for what you're already guilty of, right?
There are evidence-based strategies that will keep us safer. A hearing about blue states and red states.
Yeah, like cracking down on crime, asshole.
Is a fiction that is being driven in this country, that somehow we have this tribalistic fight that is causing our problems, and that's not it. In fact, that is the problem. That we in this country have not understood that we belong to each other, that we share common ground, that we have common values.
Then why do you keep calling the right wing fucking Nazis? Why do you keep calling Republicans then the fucking Nazis and white supremacists and ultra MAGA Republicans and bullshit like that?
There are strategies that we could be pursuing as opposed to fighting each other. The kind of partisanship that's toxic in this nation is what we saw in the president's first act.
Oh, dude, say it. Don't spray it.
To take criminals who beat police officers, criminals who beat them so savagely, people like Brian Sicknick died, and then to pardon those police officers for particularly partisan reasons. That's unjustifiable and something that should bring us all together.
Well, how come that they've got the zero cash bail in your city and in your state, and they've also got extreme soft on crime policies where they just let them out the back door after they commit heinous crimes, violent crimes? I mean, there's been stories of people committing attempted murder or even full-on murder I've heard of before, like second-degree murder, like they just let them out the next day, especially if they're illegal immigrants.
The pretext for this hearing is a farce. It's belied by the evidence. It's belied by common sense.
Wait a minute, it's a farce?
Doesn't get this committee back to the work
Democrats
that I've
asked
seen
for this
done
committee hearing.
In Congress after Congress,
actually,
despite
who's
who's president and who's in the majority, we in this committee have done the work together to make our country safer. We are seeing crime going down, but that's little satisfaction to people
no,
who
we're not,
have
dude.
seen their families victimized by crime. We have work to do, but this ain't it.
Yeah, we're seeing crime going down once the feds get involved these days. Now, dude, the reality is that when they opened the floodgates at the southern border and allowed in shitloads of criminal illegal immigrants that were released from prisons all across Latin America. They emptied out their prisons, sent them all up here, and that's why crime went way up in the last couple of years. So what the fuck that dude's talking about? Senator Ted Cruz, these are some of the faces behind the numbers. Edward Corestein, 19. Eric, I'm not really familiar, but Eric Tarpinian, Jacom, 21. Honesty Cheadle, 3. Sarah Lynn Milgram, 26. Yaron Lischinski, 30. And Mike Gill, 56. I'm not familiar with who he's talking about. I'm assuming that they're probably, some of the victims of, oh yeah, there you go, murderers in Washington, D.C. So yeah, these are probably recent victims of criminals, probably were murdered. But here, we'll hear from Ted Cruz.
And we need to understand these are not just numbers. Here are some of the faces behind those numbers.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
Edward Corestein, 19, brutally assaulted during a carjacking attempt in D.C. Eric Tarpinian Jackim, 21, a young congressional intern gunned down in the capital city. Honesty Cheadle, 3 years old, just a toddler, killed by stray gunfire. Sarah Lynn Milgram, 26, and Yaron Lischinski, 30, Israeli embassy staffers newly in love on the verge of engagement, brutally murdered.
Wow.
Mike Gill, 56, a husband, father of 3. Former Trump administration official shot in cold blood.
All right. Yeah, but crime is just like non-existent, Cory Booker says. From Josh Hawley, this former Biden staffer thought he could solve gun crime by defunding the police, which is hilarious. I hope I have that post. I came across a post earlier today where Democrats said that they are not for defunding the police, that they're pro-police. Now, they didn't say they're pro-police now. They're saying that we've always been pro-police. We've never stood with defunding the police. It's not fucking believable. It's like they expect the American people to have the memory of a goldfish. So let's see. And his consulting firm represented Soros-funded clients. Follow the money.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this report that you issued when you were executive director, a policymaker's playbook. And I'll ask you to enter it into the record, Mr. Chairman.
And again, this happened this morning.
Without objection.
Thank you. In this report, you advocate, and I quote now, defunding the police because the long-term goal is fundamentally to reimagine how the state serves its citizens in the project of public safety. You go on.
Oh, dude, they could go through. Oh, my God, dude. You can get thousands of fucking tweets, not only from Democrat politicians, but from people who work in blue cities, people who are police chiefs, the mayors, like all kinds of people. They were all in lockstep. Hashtag defund the police. Probably retweeted like tens of millions of times, especially back in 2020.
I say police departments traumatize residents through a destructive cycle of racist over-policing. And the answer is not to add any more money to police budgets,
but to take it away.
Talk to me about, why is it that denying policing to the most vulnerable communities is a solution? I know that's what the blue cities are doing, but why is that a good idea?
Well, look, I in no way stand with defunding law enforcement. I mean,
that's what your report says.
Sheriff Mike Sheridan, who taught me how to drive when I was 16 years old.
Wait. Your report, when you were executive director, said you wanted to defund the police. Do you renounce this report? Mr. Jackson, do you renounce the report that you authored as executive director? Here it is.
You're the second senator to bring up an op-ed or
this isn't an op-ed. This is your report, a policymaker's playbook to reduce gun violence without policing communities.
Okay.
Community Justice Action Fund, copyright 2023, when you were executive director. Now you say you don't know anything about it. Now you say that you haven't heard of it, just like the Democrats who all of a sudden say, we're all for the police. They've been advocating defunding them for years.
Okay, well, you can look at documents.
Yeah, dude, they wanted to hire a bunch of fucking social workers, which means that they wanted to hire a bunch of people who couldn't find a job after they got out of left-wing college, and they were going to give them positions where we're going to replace the police with these people, with social workers. What do they call? They called them like a crime. Shit, man, I can't remember what the fuck they called it, but yeah, they wanted to hire a bunch of these idiots to go out and de-escalate certain situations so that way they wouldn't have the need for the police anymore. It was absolutely ridiculous. It didn't go anywhere. I'm sure it backfired horrifically, but of course they don't want to talk numbers or anything about all that.
My question is, do you renounce this report now? You say you no longer agree with this.
And my answer is that I led the efforts to invest $42 billion in law enforcement.
You've advocated defunding the police as executive director of an organization that you still lead and are affiliated with.
Never see me advocate for that directly. What you see me advocate for.
Oh, directly, huh? Only on paper, right? Oh my God. These people are so fucking slimy. And what's so funny is that this is all over, that they were all over the internet every single day. Hashtag defund the police. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag defund the police. They were doing it every single day, and I'm sure he's no different than them. I bet his staff probably could have gone through his Twitter profile and probably would have been able to pull hundreds of tweets about that. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not familiar with who that guy is, but all right. Anyway, Senate Judiciary Republicans. Senator Brent Taylor tells it like it is. Democrat policies are hollowing out Memphis middle class and harming impoverished communities. Let's take a listen to this.
Crime is so bad in Memphis that last year, Shelby County, the county that Memphis is in, experienced the largest decrease in population of any county in the entire country. And unless we do something, Memphis will hollow out its middle class, and all that will be left are the extremely poor who can't afford to leave and the extremely wealthy who can afford private security to stay. Crime is so...
Well, and I'm sure that's happening not just in Memphis, but in quite a few cities, especially with... I know that remote work has gone up. Actually, it's gone up in 5 years, but I think it's kind of on the decline at this point. But there's a lot of young married couples, especially, who are moving out of large cities and moving into small towns. And for the first time in, 30 or 40 years, with regard to young Americans, there's an uptick in young Americans moving into small town America, not out of small town America. So, and this is probably one of many reasons why. Anyway, Joint Economic Committee Republicans. Unemployment continued to exceed the number of job openings in August, with the gap now at 157,000. The ratio of unemployment to job openings, U/V, ticked up to 1.02. So here's the graph. And that's August of 2025. So it has crossed over. Unemployment's in the red, job openings in the dark blue. Maybe allow some more time to happen with regard to the tariffs and factories moving back in, manufacturing coming back. Not sure if it's going to be enough to really bolster employment. Not so sure. This actually doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I'm honestly surprised that this didn't happen like 2-3 years ago, really. You know, like, of course, this happened during COVID, like throughout 2020 and into 2021. But I mean, like, unemployment completely bottomed out, man, like in 2022. So, yeah, I mean, it's just because of just spending, man. People don't have as much money. Look, it looks great in the stock market. The economy looks like it's roaring right now as far as that goes. But when you ask everyday people, dude, like, you know, inflation really fucked a lot of shit up, especially with rent going up so high. Mortgages are crazy expensive now. Insurance across the board is absolutely insane. Grocery prices went up over 30% since 2019. And people, they're tapped out on their credit cards. A lot of people have taken out home equity loans, so they're going to have to pay all that back. The average new car right now is almost $50,000. The average used car payment right now is $550 a month. It's absolutely crazy. So with regard to the middle class, I think you would be hard-pressed to find somebody in the middle class who would say that, oh my God, the economy is rocking and rolling. Everything's looking awesome right now. So anyway, the whole reason that I'm going over that, standing up on the soapbox, is because spending is probably going down and down because people are running out of money. Because everything's just so expensive. People got to tighten up their budgets. And when that happens, retail, travel industry, you know, there's other sectors where it takes a hit and they have to lay a lot of people off, especially big tech, man. Big tech, they've taken a big hit in the last couple of years. So, and they still continue. And hell, even Starbucks, just the other day, they announced that they're laying off hundreds of employees and they're shutting down hundreds of locations. Hundreds of locations. All right. Anyway, Senator Katie Boyd Britt, looks like we're going back to the committee again. Let's be clear. Our crime crisis was created by blue cities pushing radical policies, including cashless bail, downgrading classifications of crimes, and undermining law enforcement. The crime in these cities today is the direct result of failed Democratic leadership.
Let's be clear. The problem that we're facing today was created by blue cities, was created by plans coming from the other side of the aisle, whether it's cashless bail policies, downgrading classifications of whole categories of crimes, undermining rights and protections afforded by law enforcement officers like we saw in D.C. in 2022, which Detective Pemberton, I want to talk to you about that, or creating systems to ensure that pretrial releases of even the most violent offenders, like what happened in Memphis, were done. So when we're looking at this, I take issue with what the ranking member had to say. He specifically pointed out Alabama. Truth be told, 8% of our population in Birmingham and Montgomery accounts for 40% of our crime. Both of those cities have been run by Democratic mayors, and in particular in Birmingham for the last 50 years. The mayor has been a Democrat. So we can't pick and choose here and pretend like that is a whole state problem. We're talking about specific areas, and we want to keep these people safe.
Oh, yeah, man. Truth be told, in red areas, you don't see crime anywhere near like you do in blue areas. It's night and day. Not saying crime doesn't exist. It's just a night and day when you look at the numbers, I'm sure. All right, moving on to the White House. The Democrat shutdown means jeopardized food assistance for low-income women, infants, and children. So that's something to keep an eye out on. I know they said that, I believe they said WIC is going to take a big hit, that they added something like $15 or $20 million into the WIC program to try to keep it above water, but they said that's not going to last long at all, like a week or something, if that. So they're just pointing out just more problems that people really aren't bringing up with regard to pointing fingers. Democrats point fingers at Republicans and vice versa. But yeah, I don't think anybody's really mentioned the whole food assistance issue. And Speaker Mike Johnson, what happens if Democrats shut down the government? The troops will be unpaid. TSA agents won't get paid. WIC and food assistance will be delayed. FEMA offline during hurricane season. Yeah, something to be concerned with. I mean, looking at the tropics, it doesn't really look all that. I mean, it's definitely, there's nothing threatening the coastline or anything right now. Of course, that could change literally any day, especially in the month of October that we're heading into, even more, especially with the Gulf Coast. And I live in St. Petersburg, so I watch the tropics every single day during hurricane season because we have to. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully nothing crazy happens, especially with this situation happening with FEMA. That would be an absolute freaking catastrophe, really. Anyway, oh yeah, I'm going to knock on wood on that one. So anyway, we will own the consequences of a shutdown, all because the Democrats are terrified of their far left radical base.
I would credit President Trump for calling us into the Oval Office yesterday. He's operating in good faith. There is no daylight at all between the President of the United States and the Republican majorities in the House and Senate. We're all united. We want to keep the government open. We have done our work. The House passed the bill. Bipartisan, by the way. We had one Democrat join us, okay?
Okay, well, dude, I would hardly call that bipartisan. They do that shit all the time. So we can call that this bill is bipartisan because Senator Fetterman, he voted for it. So it's a bipartisan bill. I mean, like pretty much everything is bipartisan for the most part. Yeah, there's a few bills here and there where it's 100% no versus 100% yes. However, for them to point fingers and say that the Republicans want to shut down the government doesn't make any sense, especially with all of these executive orders that Trump keeps putting out and all of these programs that they're unleashing, especially with the Department of the Interior, Department of Energy, Transportation Department, especially with air traffic controllers. There's all kinds of things that they're doing in the government right now. It's essentially operating full steam ahead. To me, it's kind of concerning, if anything, because I thought we were supposed to be scaling back the government and trying to roll back on spending in one way or another so we can stop this runaway deficit bullshit. But it just doesn't make any sense. With everything that Republicans are doing, trying to push all these programs forward and trying to get done as much as they are trying to get done, and at least up until the end of this year, doesn't make any sense to me that they'd want to just suddenly just run into a brick wall and just shut down the government, because that's not what they're doing. It just simply is.
But they have to have 60 votes in the Senate. Chuck Schumer's got to release a handful of people to come along to do the right thing and keep the doors open for the country.
Isn't that fucked up? Like, what do you mean that he's got to release a few people? What, like he has to, like every Democrat senator has to get his blessing before they are allowed to vote for this? That makes no sense. They're not supposed to be, working for fucking Chuck Schumer. They're supposed to be working for the state that they're coming from. I mean, they should be independently voting regardless of what their party wants to do. If this bill helps their state more than it hurts their state, they should be voting for it. They shouldn't be listening to Chuck Schumer. They should be listening to their constituency. And I bet all of these different states that these Democrats are representing, I bet their phones are ringing off the hook from people saying, you better not fucking shut down the government because my husband works for so-and-so, or I've got family working in so-and-so, or I'm on this program, or I need assistance from this, or whatever the case might be. I'm sure they're getting inundated with phone calls from people saying, do not shut down the government, but they don't give a shit about their constituency. They just simply don't. They only care about Chucky Chuck.
What happens if they don't? This is really important. I mean, the markets will be rattled, I'm sure, because of the uncertainty that we don't need to be adding into this. You'll have a delay of the BLS jobs report is due October 3rd.
That will be delayed. Already,
but
anyway.
Importantly, real services, real benefits that the American people depend upon. Troops won't be paid. TSA agents won't be paid. The WIC program, the Women, Infants, and Children Nutrition Program, and other food services will be delayed. FEMA services won't be provided. We have 2 hurricanes off the coast of the United States right now. I mean, we're in the middle of hurricane.
Oh, give me a break, dude. Those hurricanes are so far away from the country. I'd pull up the map right now, but it's not even worth it. Those hurricanes are so far away. In fact, one of those 2 is threatening the island of Bermuda. And Bermuda's like, 1,000 miles off the coast?
This is serious stuff. And Chuck
I get what he
Schumer
means, though. We are in the middle of hurricane season.
Are playing politics with all these people in the American People Services. And they're willing to do it for political cover. That's the game. They can't face their far-left base. When they come on the program today, I think you're having them both. Ask Chuck Schumer what his real motivation is. He'll try to tell you it's about, these issues that end.
Well, if they can't confront their far-left base, what does that mean? Does that mean that Democrats are going to flat vote no on literally every single thing from here on out? Because I'm sure that their far-left base, no matter what they're going to vote for, they're going to be screaming at them for one reason or another, because you got some far-leftists that just hate every single aspect of the government. And then you got other ones who want the government to be so enormous that we live in this fucking communism, quote-unquote, utopia.
The calendar year, December 31. But what it's really about, he's running from AOC and the socialist base of their party who are going to challenge him in his next election. They said he didn't fight Trump when he did the right thing back in March and did a temporary funding measure, and now he's got to fight. And it's shameful. It really is.
Yeah, well, the Democrats, they can't please everybody. It's just splintered off too much. There's just too many factions of the Democratic Party now. It's just impossible to please everybody. And every group that's represented amongst the Democratic Party, a lot of them want their own individual things, and you just can't do it. So must suck to be them. Anyway, Senate Judiciary Democrats again, Senator Hirono, Democrats aren't for funding the police. We're for proven police training and community engagement programs. Unfortunately, the Trump administration is getting funding for both. Huh?
All of our cities and communities should be safe. It doesn't matter whether the communities are led by Democratic or Republican governors or mayors.
Yeah, but it does, though.
And as Senator Whitehouse pointed out, there are hard crime rates and places where led by Republicans. So all this focus on somehow
name one.
It's the Democratic-led cities that are more crime-ridden is just
She's not going to name one, is she?
Full of you know what. And I think we need to get off this kind of politicization of the safety of our cities. Let's just pay attention to what we can do to make sure that our cities are safe. And that means funding the police in appropriate ways. And if I hear one more time that all we Democrats want to defund the police, it's like, you know what? Do you not even listen to any of us who say that is not our position? I mean, is there any understanding of the fact that we are not all in that boat? My gosh. You know, it's just really, the word ridiculous comes to mind when people are yelling and screaming about positions that we are not even taking. And as long
but they
as
were all in
we
lockstep.
are looking
Remember
at
2020.
Facts, why don't we? Why don't we look at facts? Why don't we look at how we can truly prevent crime, how we need to train our police? We need to have, I would say, community policing.
I don't know, arrest criminals.
Is a good way for
keep them in jail.
Our people to trust,
especially when the evidence is overwhelming.
Police officers to have a relationship with them. Those are all good things to support. But unfortunately, we have a regime that, for example, the Department of Justice canceled over $800 million in public safety grants, including $100 million in grants.
Oh yeah, DEI, woke, leftist, quote unquote policing. Probably those social workers that I mentioned. I'm sure that's probably what it was covering. It was probably slashing DEI bullshit. I'm sure that's exactly what it was.
For violence prevention. Now, this is the administration that wants...
Violence prevention. So basically, they're paying like $800 million to hire a bunch of people to just like walk around and just, educate criminals on, this is why you shouldn't be a criminal. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
To prevent violence, that wants to send National Guard to cities that they politically determine is violence-ridden. Not true, and yet...
Oh, yeah, Chicago, they're totally not violence-ridden. LA is totally not violence-ridden. Memphis totally isn't violence-ridden.
They are making these kinds of cuts. See, the inconsistency is awesome.
No, the only inconsistency is your argument, lady. That's the only thing that's inconsistent here. You're saying you're anti-defund the police, but you're a Democrat. And your entire party was in lockstep with that. And then you say that their crime is virtually non-existent in these cities that Trump wants to send the feds to? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so it looks like that might be the last one that I have with the committee. But if there's one more, there's one more. But I think that pretty much covers it. So this is from Rapid Response. The president announces that Pfizer will provide some of their most popular medications to all Americans at heavily discounted prices of between 50 to 100% off, and all new medications introduced to the U.S. market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation cost.
In addition, Pfizer is agreeing to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%, and that's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that. These drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by Pfizer to the American market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation cost. So we'll be paying essentially what other countries are paying.
All right. Well, I'm all about that. I'm not exactly in favor of the federal government hosting a website where we have to go buy it. I don't know about all that, but anyway, it's good news. I'll take it as a win. if they're doing precisely what they say they're doing. But this is the CEO of Pfizer. He speaks on it. Albert Bourla. The big winner of this deal clearly will be the American patient. There's no doubt about that. They are the ones that will see significant impact in their ability to buy medicines. We are ready to unleash our investment portfolio in this country. Well, how come you haven't been doing that since day one? Why do you have to get the president threatening you with executive orders and I don't even know, company sanctions or some shit? I don't know. But, I mean, he wrote a bunch of strongly worded letters to all these pharmaceutical companies saying that you've got to back off and start charging Americans fair prices, because why the hell are you charging us 5 times more for medication than you're charging France, the UK, Canada, Mexico, like all these other countries? Why do we pay 5 times more? So now they come out, basically not even catching them with their pants down. Like, it's just been so blatant, and everybody knows it. We've known that we've been getting ripped off by pharmaceutical companies for decades at this point.
So it's an historic day, because I think today we are turning the tide and we are reversing an unfair situation. For years, other rich nations refused to pay the fair share for the medical innovation. And
okay. Oh, so they refused to pay for medical innovation. So in order to punish them for it, you're going to charge them 5 times less for their medication than you charge us, where virtually all of your innovation happens right here in America. Not all. I get it. Like Germany, they do a lot, and I'm sure other countries do a lot too for medical research, but still.
As a result, Americans had to assume disproportional cost on their shoulders.
Yeah, it's called fairness.
This situation, we all knew, is not
greedy
sustainable.
Bastards.
This situation is a situation that many wanted to change, but no one could. This is changing today.
You could have. You're the one running the company.
In July, the president sent to me and other heads of pharmaceutical companies a letter.
A very strongly worded letter.
Over there, he articulated 4 specific requests. These requests, it was obvious to us, were designed to lower drug cost in the America in different ways, each one of them. And altogether, holistically, to have synergistic effect in the impact that that will have in the U.S. healthcare cost and patients. With this deal that we signed today, we satisfied all 4 of President's requests. All 4.
Good. We shouldn't have even had to ask in the first place.
The big winner of this deal clearly will be the American patient. There is no doubt about it.
How much money did Pfizer get from COVID?
We'll see significant impact
retarded amount of money.
In their ability to buy medicines. But I would argue that it is not the only winner. I think who else is a winner here? It is American innovation and American economy.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably going to be like some stipulation where like, so we're going to pass all 4 of these things. We're going to do all that you're asking, but in return, nobody can sue us with regard to the COVID vaccine. How about that? So I think that would be
in our industry.
I'm not saying that's what he's doing. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised.
That have substantially reduced our valuations and create concerns for us in our ability to invest. We are addressing both of them right now, and I will speak about them. The first one was the uncertainty of tariffs. Because President is absolutely right. Tariffs is the most powerful tool to motivate behaviors, Mr. President.
It is.
And clearly motivated ours. Right?
Well, good.
So,
goddamn time. You gonna open up manufacturing here now?
By this agreement that we did, we commit to onshore the production of our medicines that are consumed in the U.S. and are made outside the U.S.
Good.
And for that, we are ready to unleash our investment portfolio in this country. And the President graciously gave us a 3-year grace period that we will not be subject to the 232 tariffs, as long as, of course, we move the products here. That's one. The second overhang in our industry was this uncertainty. What will happen with the framework of pricing in the country? Because this uncertainty, it was what was holding people from investing in the pharmaceutical industry, which resulted in significant reduction of our multiples. Actually, our multiples are at historical low. Well, now we have clarity about what is the framework for the U.S. pricing. Read the letter of President Trump, read the 4 points, and this is the framework. And we will abide to that, and going forward, this is how things will be priced in the U.S. and abroad. We are ready to invest, as the President also mentioned, $70 billion in the next few years, from Pfizer in manufacturing and research in America alone.
All right, well, good. $70 billion, that's a good start. How much money do you think that Pfizer, what percentage of their portfolio and profits have they earned just from the United States market alone? It's got to be absurd. It's got to be absolutely crazy. And so this is responding to, I don't know if I have this one, but I'll play it now. So President announces that Pfizer will provide some of their most popular medications to all Americans, between 50 and 100% off. Just quick 30 seconds.
Pfizer is agreeing to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%, and that's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that. These drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that.
Okay, so yeah, we basically already heard that
all new
then, right?
medications introduced by Pfizer to the American.
Okay, all right. So I'll just cut it there. Let's move on to the next one. I was saying maybe I already played that. I think I did. Pay attention. So from the U.S. Department of Transportation, hard segue. The last administration EV mandate was a disaster, which it was. Of course, Tesla and General Motors, Ford, all the other companies, they absolutely loved the mandate because they were getting, what was it, $7,500 tax credits. I think they were tax credits or whatever they called them. Like they essentially paid for $7,500 worth of anybody who bought a new EV. And that was in place for years. So under Secretary Duffy's leadership, the department will reset fuel economy standards to lower vehicle costs and improve safety for American families. I am very happy to hear this. Watch as Deputy Transportation Secretary S.G. Bradbury joined Politico this morning. So I'm not sure. It's only a minute long, so I'm not sure if he's going to go into details. I would be curious to know by how far they're dropping the fuel economy standards, because right now for pickup trucks, the fuel economy standard, like the requirement is 40 or maybe 41 miles to the gallon. It's over 40 miles to the gallon, which in my understanding, that's why they got rid of V8 engines in pickup trucks, because they can't get them up to 40 miles to the gallon, not without sacrificing way too much. So sounds like they're going to be lowering those standards again, which is amazing news. I mean, it's really going to hopefully allow the manufacturers to build cars that are reliable once again, because they're all built like shit these days. So let's give this a listen.
They have to phase out a lot of models of internal combustion engine vehicles that the American people want to buy, that have great utility for American families. They have the cargo space. They have the power that Americans want for different use cases. And so your range of choices at the dealership is reduced dramatically. It's stifled. The average cost of a new car goes way up. And so the average family has trouble affording a new vehicle. And that has safety implications, because we know that older used vehicles are much less safe in a highway accident than a new car. So we want American families to buy more new cars. We want them to be affordable. We want to have the choices available.
All right. Well, I mean, you're not getting me out of my 90s car. I drive a 1999 Mirage, and I'm always going to drive that car for as long as it'll keep running. And I take meticulous care of it to make sure it does run that long, because my insurance is dirt cheap compared to the average going rate right now. But yeah, look, they really need to get drop the fuel standards, mainly because they're putting so much bullshit in these cars now, over-engineering them to a ridiculous degree, trying to do all of these just different techniques and methods in order to boost that fuel economy up as high as it can go, while also not sacrificing the performance of the engine too, which is why almost all vehicles now are GDI engines, gasoline direct injection, which is like 200 pounds of pressure and fuel pressure in the engine now. And I'm no engineer or anything, but I believe that GDI engines don't last as long as the port injected engines. So hopefully they'll start bringing back more of those engines, because the port injected engines, those are the ones in the Toyotas and the Hondas, the vehicles that will go like 1,000,000 miles. Those are the kind of engines, as far as I understand. So hopefully they'll start coming out with that stuff again, and they'll back off the amount of freaking parts that they're putting in these vehicles that are making them so damn expensive. All right, House Republicans. It's been more than 10 days since the House did our job and passed legislation to keep the government open. Democrats are shutting down the government to appease far-left activists by spending $1.5 trillion of your tax dollars on waste, fraud, and abuse. Let me just check one more time. It's over I'll just call it at $4,000. It's like $4,411 or something like that. That's how much money $1.5 trillion adds up to. If you take 340 million Americans and you divide 1.5 trillion by the amount of Americans, it adds up to about $4,400 each. That's how much money Democrats want to take from each and every single American citizen. I wish Republicans would actually throw those numbers out, but they don't. I mean, I just did that myself. And yeah, I mean, we're talking over $4,000 from every man, woman, and child that they want to take and use for illegal immigrant health care and they want to give money back to public broadcasting again. They want to infuse a bunch of money into a bunch of USAID bullshit like they had already in place before this Trump administration took back over. So anyway, from House Democrats, hey, House Republicans, cancel your vacation, cancel the cuts, lower costs, save healthcare. Yeah, they're not on vacation. They're just being a bunch of dumbasses. They're being a bunch of dicks. All right. Anyway, so this comes from the FBI. Frauds and scams are everywhere, but you don't have to feel powerless against them. Scammers often use common manipulation tactics to trap victims, gain their trust, and establish control. So take a beat. Watch this video from FBI Richmond and learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones. If you believe yourself or someone you know may have been the victim of a fraud or scam, report it to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at ic3.gov. I'll link that in the description if you just happen to be one of those people that need it.
Your computer is linked to a criminal investigation. You will be arrested if you don't cooperate.
Your heart is racing. You feel confused. You feel anxious and pressured. You think you've got to act now. Scams change every day, making them hard to spot. What doesn't change are the manipulation tactics that scammers use. They prey on your emotions using fear, urgency, and confusion to trap you before you can think clearly. They look for vulnerabilities like loneliness or hardship to gain your trust. They isolate you and encourage secrecy to establish their control. When this happens, you need to take a beat. Take a moment to pause and step back from the pressure. Hang up the phone or close your computer. Next, do your research online. Don't trust random links and go straight to the official website. And finally, don't keep this to yourself. A friend, family member, or a bank employee might recognize warning signs that are easy to miss when you're in the middle of a stressful situation. Scammers target your emotions, but by understanding their tactics, you stay in control.
Yeah, and a lot of people, we're really well aware of what to stay away from, especially millennials and Gen Z. But there's a lot of older people that they're really just not on the up and up when it comes to this shit, especially these days. Like it said, I mean, they're coming at you from every which way these days, especially with text messaging. It's fucking crazy. All right, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement happening now. USCIS with ICEGov and FBI, they discuss Operation Twin Shield apprehensions related to immigration fraud in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. This is really interesting that they're cracking down on this. Basically, people who are getting married and doing things like that just to try to stay in the country, which makes me wonder, are they setting this whole thing up for Ilhan Omar maybe? Maybe she's going to be included as one of these subjects? I don't know. Oh, no, dude, this is 20 minutes long. I'll link this. Actually, I'll repost it. If you want to check out my Twitter profile, it's at SPAETHON. It's the same as my YouTube name, except there's an N as in November at the end. So, yeah, I honestly didn't realize it was that long. I thought it was a lot shorter than that. But anyway, I think I actually have a news article on that, which if I come across it, actually, this looks like that's it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. USCIS is declaring an all-out war on immigration fraud. We will relentlessly pursue everyone involved in undermining the integrity of our immigration system and laws. And this comes from Fox News, which I'll link in the description too if you want to check it out, because I may not read through it all if it's too long. First on Fox, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office conducted an unprecedented large-scale investigation in Minneapolis this month, focused on those who were committing marriage and asylum fraud, just like Ilhan Omar, because they released that marriage certificate I guess it could be conspiratorial. I don't know. I don't have ironclad evidence that it is actually legit, although the entities I was reading it from, they said it was legit, that she actually married her brother. Apparently that's confirmed now, so looks like she might be getting the boot, but who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Probably not, but we'll see. Under a mission known as Operation Twin Shield, officers targeted 1,000 cases, knocking on doors at more than 900 sites to conduct interviews and review immigration criteria. Coordinating with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the FBI, they found fraud, non-compliance, or public safety and national security concerns in 275 cases. It's the first operation after a new rule finalized earlier this month allowed USCIS to expand its law enforcement duties. In 44 of those cases, the immigrants were referred to ICE or given a notice to appear in court. 2 were detained on site, and the rest are still being investigated. In one example, an immigrant engaged in a sham marriage with an elderly U.S. citizen and subjected the citizen to elder abuse and exploitation, according to USCIS. Another immigrant admitted to fabricating a death certificate from Kenya for $100 to falsely claim the termination of a marriage. The spouse in question was alive, living in Minneapolis, and the mother of 5 of his children. Probably, I don't even know why they'd be doing that. Who knows, but all right. Other cases included a petitioner who confessed to marriage fraud just hours after swearing under oath that her marriage was legitimate, and another involving an immigrant who had overstayed a visa waiver, was the son of a suspected terrorist, and had previously been denied benefits for fraud. USCIS Director Joseph Edlow described the operation as part of a broader shift in enforcement posture under President Trump. Quote, USCIS is declaring an all-out war on immigration fraud. We will relentlessly pursue everyone involved in undermining the integrity of our immigration systems and laws. With help from ICE and FBI, USCIS Operation Twin Shield was a tremendous success. Hundreds of bad actors will be held accountable, Edlow said. And that's Minneapolis, in case you're wondering. The operation was conducted between September 19th and 28th across Minneapolis-St. Paul region. USCIS said it is the first time the agency has committed resources on this scale to a single geographic area, signaled more such crackdowns could follow. Officials expect the number of NTAs, referrals to ICE, and adverse adjudications to increase as investigations continue. The agency pointed to Executive Order 14161, which directs federal agencies to protect the United States from foreign terrorists and other public safety threats, as the framework guiding the operation. Officials emphasized that unlike during the Biden administration, USCIS officers are now empowered to thoroughly vet applications and aggressively pursue fraud wherever it is encountered. The Minneapolis surge marks the first time USCIS has deployed resources at this scale in a single region, and leadership suggested it could become a model for future crackdowns in other parts of the country. With more administrative investigations still underway, the number of arrests and court referrals is expected to rise. There you go. Ilhan Omar, you're on notice, lady. All right. Next topic. DEA Seattle targeted. DEA targets CJNG operations, seizing 1 million counterfeit pills and 77,000 kilos of their drugs in 5 days. CJNG is one of the most violent and prolific drug trafficking organizations in the world, flooding the U.S. with deadly drugs. And we've got a press release from the DEA. And so I don't know if that's Sijing. I don't even know. This is the first time I'm hearing about this organization. But dude, look at all that shit. Look at all them drugs. I don't know. I doubt that's 77,000 kilos, but I'm sure that's what? How much do you think that might be? Maybe it could be 1,000 kilos. I'm sure each one of these is a kilo. I don't know if that's 1,000, but including all that down there, yeah, it could be close to 1,000 kilos. All right. Today, the drug... here, let me make this a little larger here. So today, the Drug Enforcement Administration announced the results of a week-long operational surge aimed at dismantling the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, so it is the acronym, one of the most violent and prolific drug trafficking organizations on Earth. Designated as a foreign terrorist organization in February by the Trump administration, CJNG is a significant threat to public safety, public health, and national security. CJNG is responsible for flooding the U.S. with deadly fentanyl, meth, cocaine, and heroin to fuel addiction, overdoses, and violence in communities across the United States. From September 22nd to 26th, DEA agents across 23 domestic field divisions in 7 foreign regions carried out coordinated enforcement actions that resulted in 670 arrests, 92.4 kilos of fentanyl powder, 1,157,672 counterfeit pills, 6,062 kilograms of meth, 22,842 kilos of cocaine, and 33 kilos of heroin. The currency seizures, 18 million in hard currency, 29.7 million in seized assets, and 244 firearms. Good grief, man. Oh, man, dude, they got pictures. Look at this shit. This is absolutely crazy. That is a shitload of dope. There's some of the cash up there. They're on the top. More currency. More drugs. Lots more drugs. Even more and more and more. Damn, those are all pills, too. Fentanyl pills, I'm assuming. Holy shit, man. Talk about a lifetime supply. Good grief. Probably enough for probably 100 lifetimes. All right, so I'll just leave it there. Let me see. Yeah, I was just checking that real quick. So, all right, I'll link that if you want to read the details I didn't cover on it. That'll be linked below, dea.gov. And this comes from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And this was from 7 hours ago, 2:30 this afternoon. ICE, HSI, and Secret Service joined forces to ensure the protection of assets, personnel, and resources during the UN General Assembly. 800 ICE professionals worked seamlessly alongside the U.S. Secret Service, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to defending the homeland. I think that there was a General Assembly that happened today, I think, right? Pretty sure the UN met. And I think it was mostly with regard to the announcement with Israel and the Gaza Strip. You know, with that coming out yesterday, I think they met talking about that. But they also talked about other situations going on.
So this is our Joint Intelligence Center, as you can see. We've got Trump Tower over here. I know where that is. Other multiple sites that we monitor, and we're constantly feeding the information to our men and women in the field.
Amazing. And then if we come through the next set of doors, we have even more.
Dude, I'm digging those green fluorescent lights.
Here.
That's awesome.
This is a massive room. So this is our Joint Operations Center. You know, we're able to monitor the airspace, our protective details, our personnel, our assets. This is where everything happens. This is kind of the nerve center of this 80th anniversary of the UN.
Might color code each room,
I imagine
maybe.
you both feel
the other one
it's a
blue.
bit of a heightened time. And Director Kern, I asked you about this on First Avenue, but Director Lyons, you guys, your ICE agents, are out there every day, you know, enforcing the law, making sure that we're safe in our communities. Have you had to pull resources, or do you have enough to spread out as well across the country?
No, we're supporting Sean's group with about 800 agents right now. But, you know, like you said, assaults on ICE officers are up 1,000%. So we're dealing with just as well. We have to make sure when we go to make arrests in the field that we have to send our own security teams to protect the agents and officers of making those arrests.
So fucked up,
So
man.
it's really, you know, it's a very volatile time for law enforcement, I think, for all of us in the Department of Homeland Security. We just have to really make sure we take care of the men and women that are out there doing the law enforcement mission every day.
Well, and I think ICE should have more broad powers to arrest. I don't know if they're only allowed to arrest illegal immigrants. I'm assuming that probably is the case. I'm not 100% for sure, but if you're impeding anything that they're doing, if you're getting in the way of what they're doing, hindering their everyday operations, like standing in front of their vehicle, for instance, or standing in front of the entrance and not allowing them to move through freely, that's obstruction. And you can be sentenced to prison for up to 8 years for that. But they're not arresting any of these assholes. All these people, especially up in Chicago at the ICE facility, hundreds of people, which they call demonstrating, but no, they're actually rioting for the most part. And yeah, they'll arrest one here, one there, but they need to be arresting all of them who are blocking the entrance, which are numbered in the hundreds of people. So I don't know if they just don't have enough agents or if they just don't have the authority to arrest them because they're not illegal immigrants. I don't know. Although, look, AG Pam Bondi yesterday issued a letter saying that they're going to start cracking down on that immediately. And I hope that actually does end up happening. I didn't see anything about it today. I'm sure, you know, since that letter was issued last night, if it does go into effect immediately, they're probably going to start arresting lots of people starting tonight. So I'll be on the lookout for that for sure. So anyway, Congressman Pat Harrigan, Democrats are dragging this country into a shutdown. And for what? To give taxpayer-funded Medicare to 1.2 million illegal immigrants. So I included this because he actually gave a hard number. And that's the first time that I'm seeing this, the actual number of illegal immigrants they want to give health care to. So there you have it, 1.2 million. Not saying it's the gospel truth. I'm just saying that Congressman Pat Harrigan, he gave the number. It's insanity. Rewarding lawbreakers with free health care only fuels the border crisis, and the American people know it. Yeah, and Chuck Schumer just said that, or he said it back in the 90s, but we just heard him say that from back in the 90s, saying that it's only going to cause more illegal immigrants to try to flood our border. Anyway, House GOP passed a clean bill to keep the government open. Only 7 Democrat senators are needed to stop a shutdown. Well, we got 1 with Fetterman. Instead, Schumer and Jeffries are holding your government hostage to bankroll open borders, woke pet projects, and even bring back taxpayer-funded for NPR and PBS. $500 million was the number that I saw that they want to give to NPR and PBS. The hypocrisy is staggering. Chuck Schumer once admitted you don't shut down the government over unrelated demands. Now he's doing exactly that out of political desperation. Yeah, they are desperate at this point, man. Like, they are in some serious trouble. And we got the midterms coming up next year. The American people did not vote for this. They do not want to fund healthcare for illegal aliens. No, we don't. They do not want a $1 trillion partisan blowout, and they are done watching their tax dollars wasted on woke nonsense while veteran seniors and families are put at risk. This is betrayal, and the American people will hold Democrats accountable for it. Yes, they will. I truly believe they will. Again, over $4,000 from every American man, woman, and child if they're stuck on that $1.5 trillion in spending. Thousands of dollars from each one of us. It is absolutely ridiculous. All right, RNC Research. Watch. Radical Democrat California Rep. Maxine Waters admits Democrats are forcing a shutdown to fund healthcare for illegals. This is of no surprise to me whatsoever. I've said it before. I think she's probably the lowest IQ, not only Democrat, but probably the lowest IQ representative in Congress. And no surprise to me whatsoever that she accidentally said this if she says it so blatantly. I haven't seen this yet, so I just figured I'd save it for now. So let's see what she says.
Democrats want to prioritize the health care of illegal aliens over a government shutdown? Because if the government does shut down, American
Excuse me, stop it right there. We're not prioritizing. What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open, and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement to keep this government open, and health care is at the top of our agenda.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
Oh,
we want
she did
to save
say it.
lives. We want to make.
Was that Chuck Schumer standing next to her? If that was Chuck Schumer standing next to her, now I know why he's standing next to her, to try to keep her under control, because she might fire off the wrong thing, which she just did. She didn't say we are wanting health care for illegal immigrants. No, she said we want health care for everybody, which obviously would include illegal immigrants. But there's still more to go through.
Sure that health care is available to those who would die, but having the help of their government.
So you're good with the government shutdown, even if it means giving health care to people who aren't American citizens?
Well, that's what you're pushing on.
Well,
what
yeah,
you're trying to
that's
do
what you want.
is you're standing here and you're trying to make me say that somehow we're going to put non-citizens over Americans. Quit it. Stop it. This is the kind of journalism we don't need.
No, I'm just asking.
Then denounce it. Then say, no, we're prioritizing American citizens over everybody. But she won't say that. She's saying you're accusing me of doing that, but she doesn't either admit that she's doing it or she's not denouncing that action.
No, you're not.
Yeah, no,
you're being divisive. No, please. You don't need to ask that question. You're just trying to get controversy here. You're not going to get it from me. We want to save health care for all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Appreciate it.
Oh, my God, dude. Whatever. That was hilarious, though. She actually did say it, though. She basically said it. Even though our healthcare isn't going anywhere, it's not fully shutting down. They're just being a bunch of idiots. They're just assuming that they're base, which I'm sure most of them will believe literally every single thing they say. They're just playing word games. So, but like I said, the only thing that's due to expire with regard to healthcare is the COVID era tax credit, which they implemented in 2020, and it was a 5-year long tax credit. I think it expires November 30th. So yeah, a lot of people's healthcare will go up, but it's going to go right back up to where it was before COVID happened. So it's not like things are going to skyrocket and like quadruple in cost or anything like that. At least I don't think so. All right, Caroline Levitt, Justice Department suing Minnesota for sanctuary policies that protect criminal illegal aliens. All right, they're getting sued. Let's see what's going on with that from Breitbart. Get zoomed in here in case you're watching this on your phone. You want to read along. U.S. Department of Justice is suing the blue state of Minnesota for sanctuary policies that effectively protect criminal illegal aliens, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Monday. The DOJ lawsuit includes the state of Minnesota, as well as Minneapolis, St. Paul, Hennepin County, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana S. Witt specifically. Overall, the DOJ asserts that the various sanctuary policies of these individual entities are interfering with the federal government's work to identify and remove dangerous illegal aliens from U.S. communities. This includes a blatant refusal to work with federal law enforcement who are working to do just that. This willful lack of coordination, according to the press release, has resulted in the release of dangerous criminals from police custody who would otherwise be subject to removal, including illegal aliens convicted of aggravated assault, burglary, and drug and human trafficking onto the streets. And let's see, related video, sanctuary states kill Americans. Now that would be an interesting watch. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement that officials in Minnesota are jeopardizing the safety of their own citizens by allowing illegal immigrants to circumvent the legal process. This Department of Justice will continue to bring litigation against any jurisdiction that uses sanctuary policies to defy federal law and undermine law enforcement, she continued, as Assistant Attorney General Brett Shumate of the Justice Department's Civil Division made it clear that shielding illegal aliens from law enforcement is a, quote, blatant violation of the law that carries dangerous consequences, end quote. Quote, the Civil Division will continue to vigorously uphold the rule of law by holding sanctuary jurisdictions fully accountable, end quote, Shumate added. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has spoken out and appears undeterred by the lawsuit, stating on social media that Minneapolis will not back down. We will fight with all our strength for our immigrant neighbors, and like every time we faced Donald Trump in court, we will win, referring to President Trump's politics of fear. St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter is also remaining obstinate, asserting that his city will stand with our immigrant and refugee neighbors no matter how many unconstitutional claims the White House makes. See, they're prioritizing illegal immigrants over their own people, over their own American citizens that live in the area. Quote, we've proven our resolve in 2 successful court actions already this year, and we look forward to winning our 3rd legal victory in a row against this embarrassing federal regime, he added, making no mention of the reality of migrant crime and the criminal illegal aliens authorities are taking off the streets as many of the illegals are convicted of sexual acts against children. My God. Why would you live in Minneapolis? Oh my God, dude. Let's see, from Mayor Carter. City employees don't work for the president. We work for the people who live here. My full statement on the U.S. Department of Justice's attack on St. Paul's separation ordinance. City employees don't work for the president. We work for the people who live here. We will stand with our immigrant and refugee neighbors, no matter how many unconstitutional claims the White House makes. We've proven our resolve in 2 successful court actions already this year, and we look forward to winning the 3rd legal victory. Anyway, I already read that, but yeah, it looks like all we got here. So if you want to check out that video that I skipped past, I'll have this linked below, Breitbart.com, if you want to take a look at that. And this is from U.S. Attorney of L.A. 5 San Fernando Valley Street gang affiliates arrested on federal criminal complaint alleging murder-for-hire plot against local crime boss. Wow. Holy shit. And we've got the names of the defendants, too. This is in Los Angeles, or at least it's reporting from Los Angeles. They said San Fernando Valley area. 5 members and associates of the San Fernando Valley-based Vanowin Street Locos in Elmwood, Rifa 13 gangs were arrested today on federal criminal complaints. 4 of them charged with taking part in a murder-for-hire plot targeting an Armenian organized crime boss, but which instead resulted in his significant other getting shot and wounded in front of their 2 young children earlier this year. What the fuck? So they already tried, like they actually shot at him and tried to kill him. Holy shit, man. Straight out of Hollywood. Like almost literally. The defendants arrested today are Carlos Armando Ochoa Grimaldi, 47. Dude, 47? Really, dude? You're gangbanging at 47 years old? Okay. Christopher Ayala, 29. Edir de la Cruz, 34. And Maria de Jesus Mares, 39. And of course, they've got their gang names. Also arrested on a complaint today was Vanowin Street Locos gang member Jose de Jesus Gonzalez Jr., 49. Again, dude, fucking 49 years old. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Who is separately charged in connection with the August 23 shooting of Vahan Harutonian, 49, of Hollywood, Florida, who is now in federal custody on kidnapping charges. Approximately 5 firearms, a silencer. It's actually a suppressor, DOJ. It's not a silencer. Firearm parts and over 1,000 rounds of ammunition were seized during the search warrant services. Grimaldi, Ayala, De La Cruz, and Maras are charged with use of interstate commerce facilities and the commission of murder for hire. Gonzalez is charged with conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, the RICO Act. The defendants are expected to make their initial appearances this afternoon in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles. And let me see what else we got. Yeah, I'll say it goes on quite a bit, so I'll link it if you want to check this out. But I think we got the gist of it. Yeah, so they're going into details about about the shooting, and after I'm assuming the attempted assassination, Mars called De La Cruz and reported that the job was done, and Stepanian would pay her $50,000 for her role as the getaway driver. So yeah, so they get into some details about the day of. So anyway, that'll be linked doj.gov, right? Or justice.gov. So yeah, look for justice.gov down in the description. And we'll move over to Library of Congress. Notice, in the event of a temporary shutdown of the federal government, which I think is pretty ironclad at this point, all Library of Congress buildings will be closed to the public and researchers. All public events will be canceled. So, pointing this out, not just the Library of Congress, maybe the Smithsonian Museum, pretty much anything that's open to the public, I'm assuming, with regard to the federal government, probably going to be closed. So if you got any plans to go to D.C. and check out anything, I would go to their website first and just make sure that they're not getting affected by the shutdown. But if the Library of Congress is shutting down, I'm assuming pretty much anything else, tourist attraction-wise, is probably going to get shut down too. All right. DOW Rapid Response. Secretary Hegseth has signed 11 new memos. Number 1, review of hazing. Review of hazing and bullying and harassment definitions. So I'm not going to read the whole letter, although I will. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to repost this if you want to check it out on my profile, or you can go to DOW Response over on X. And this was posted about 6 hours ago. That would have been 3:44 p.m. And we've got more. We've got 11 in total. That was the first one. So I guess you could pause the video right now. You want to read it yourself. And we'll go to the next one here from 6 hours ago. This is the adverse information policy. So there's that one. And then number 3 is the policy memorandum revision. And they've got 2 pages of that. Memorandum for secretaries of the military department subject. Policy memorandum revision, and then memorandum for secretaries of the military departments. And number 4, military fitness standards. I think that's the big one. That's the one that they were talking about the most with regard to the release of all of these memorandums. And I think that's 3 pages in total. So service fitness test, combat field test, combat readiness test. So they're pretty much raising the standards back up to where they should have been all along, because under Biden, they significantly lowered the standards for which they should be physically fit. Number 5, Department of War Military Education and Training Standards, 60-day review. So there's that. And the next one, number 6, reduction of mandatory training requirements to restore mission focus. That's going to be this one. And of course, they're dated today, September 30th. Number 7, implementation of military equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity reform plan. It's page 1. And there's page 2, page 3, and page 4. And the next one, number 8, IG oversight and reform, enhancing timeliness, transparency, and due process in administrative investigations. There's that one. Number 9, grooming standards for facial hair implementation. So it sounds like they're probably just reverting everything back to where it was. This is probably pertaining to everything that the Biden administration either completely undid or they greatly relaxed. And number 10, requirement for formally present Purple Heart medals and valor decorations. We got that one. And finally, number 11, modern workforce management. The modern workforce management. So there you go. That happened today. Department of War, Secretary Pete Hegseth And moving to Rapid Response 47, Secretary LCD, Lori Chavez de Raymer, Secretary of Labor. And she says a Democrat government shutdown would be very damaging to the U.S. labor market. And she quotes here, so I'll just play it out.
The president has done all of the things that the American people asked him to do. He's been at the trade tables. He has negotiated more tariffs to come back to this country. He's leveled the playing field. Now the workforce is essentially waiting to come online because businesses are reinvesting in the United States of America. America First policies are working, and it's going to come to a screeching halt because the Democrats are choosing to play political games. I can tell you.
Oh, but it's the Republicans that want to shut down the government with all of this. And she laid it out. Pretty much everything I was alluding to that I was trying to go over, she's covering all of it. You know, the federal government in many different areas, it's booming. It's full steam ahead. So it makes no sense that the Republicans want to shut down the government. Makes no sense at all.
Because they're not. Want 1 million apprentices on the ground. I am sitting right here in Detroit at the Ford Accelerate program. Ford Pro Accelerate businesses, Penske, Carhartt, Ford, they're all wanting to invest in the American workforce so we can grow this economy. Unemployment has been holding steady month after month, and now this is going to put a halt in that. What we need to make sure that we're doing is getting dollars out to our respective states, again, to make America skilled again so that people can keep more of their hard-earned dollars. I mean, we've seen the blue-collar boom happening, and now this is going to be on the backs of those Democrats. I'm telling my colleagues, my former colleagues, come to the table, get this continuing resolution done so that the American people can move forward and not be suffering on the backs of political games.
Yep, she said it well. But I think, unfortunately, it's going to go through. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting ICE Director Lyons' response to Broadview Mayor Thompson's letter. Quote, you can either continue to be part of the problem or choose to be a part of the solution by directing your police to enforce local ordinances and working with us to remove violent offenders. ICE will not be deterred from its law enforcement mission. So I'll read out the letter. So this is for Mayor Thompson in Broadview, Illinois. I honestly don't know where Broadview, Illinois is. Should we take a look? Is it a suburb of Chicago? Is that maybe what it is? Not familiar with Broadview. Let me take a look here. All right. I want to dox myself. So, all right. So we're heading up to Illinois. Broadview. I'm guessing it's around Chicago, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Of course it is. It's like right dead in Chicago. All right. So that's where it is. Near Cicero, Oak Park, LaGrange, Bridgeview, Oak Lawn, Chicago. Yeah, Chicago. Okay. All right. So anyway, continuing. Dear Mayor Thompson, thank you for your September 26, 2025 letter. The safety and protection of our officers, staff, and those in our custody remain our top priority. Unfortunately, the Broadview Processing Center continues to face violence and unlawful activity by rioters. The relentless actions of these individuals and their attempts to obstruct the enforcement of federal law are unacceptable. As you know, these events come just days after the armed attack on an ICE facility in Dallas, where officers were targeted simply for carrying out their duties. Against that backdrop, a chance of shoot ICE and physical attempts to breach the Broadview facility cannot be dismissed as peaceful protest. They are direct threats to the lives of federal personnel and to public safety, and that's why ICE wears masks. We have repeatedly requested assistance from state and local law enforcement, including your own police department, to disperse these unlawful assemblies. Instead, local inaction has enabled agitators to escalate violence and placed federal officers, first responders, and Broadview residents in harm's way. If our officers were provided the support they need, the crowd control measures referenced in your letter would not be necessary. These rioters are laying siege and interfering with legitimate law enforcement operations. Failure to help provide relief makes you a party to the obstruction of justice. There will be no change in our operational posture until these unlawful activities cease. The only siege in Broadview is the one being waged against the United States government. You can either continue to be a part of the problem or choose to be a part of the solution by directing your police to enforce local ordinances and working with us to remove violent offenders. Should you wish to change course, please do not hesitate to contact. And they leave an email. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, we already know that. And, of course, they know that, too. They just got to be all official with it. I don't know, man. Where does it go next? Like, where does it escalate to next? can the DOJ? Well, I don't even know if the DOJ can even authorize it, but I mean, who in government can arrest the mayor? I don't know if they really even can. They probably can't even do that. I mean, that's not really, that's not the kind of power I hope the government would have anyway. I don't know. It just sounds to me like ICE just doesn't have the authority to arrest these assholes. That's what it sounds like to me. So, I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from there. I hope the same thing that everybody else hopes who's paying attention, that they just start arresting every single person who's there. If you're not standing on a sidewalk with a sign, shouting or doing whatever a peaceful protest would do, then arrest them. If they're standing in the driveway, if they're blocking the gate, if they're blocking ICE vehicles, if they do anything like that, arrest them. Every single one of them for obstruction. Again, under federal law, that carries up to an 8-year prison sentence in federal prison. Anyway, Diplomatic Security Service. This is the next one. UNGA 80 showed the world what America does best. DSS agents and specialists working side by side with federal, state, and local partners safeguarded leaders from around the globe and advanced our nation's security mission. Their vigilance reflects America's strength at home and leadership on the world stage. Security built by Americans for America. Sounds like I should have put this next to the one where they were touring that control center or whatever that was in New York. There it goes. Yeah, when the Democrats are like, why aren't they wearing masks? You know, so you don't have to wear masks if you're in any kind of law enforcement of the federal government. Yeah, dude, but they're not dealing with fucking cartels. They're not dealing with the potential of fucking hit squads coming after them. Anyway, Senate Republicans. In 2013, Senator Warren Pocahontas said about government funding, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win elections. Now, Democrats are holding government funding hostage over free health care for illegal aliens. 1.2 million of them.
The minimum that we can do would be to pass a continuing resolution to keep the doors open and the lights on. We can ensure that over 1 million federal workers aren't simply sent home for no reason. We can avoid a government shutdown. This is democracy. And in a democracy, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win their fights through elections, can't win their fights in Congress, can't win their fights for the presidency, and can't win their fights in the courts.
Oh,
for this right-wing minority, hostage-taking is all they have left, a last gasp of those who cannot cope with the realities of our democracy. The least we can do.
Democracy, more like hypocrisy. But that's not hypocritical at all of her. Elizabeth Warren, so they replied to her post earlier, if we're going to pass a budget for the U.S. government, we need to save healthcare for millions of Americans, period. Of course, including 1.2 million illegal immigrants. From Rapid Response 47, in 2019, I was proud to launch the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative, and today, in line with recommendations made by Secretary Kennedy and the Maha Commission, we're doubling that investment. I'm also directing the federal government to fully utilize artificial intelligence to supercharge pediatric cancer research. That's really cool.
In 2019, I was proud to launch the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative.
Let's hear Trump say exactly what I just read.
And I
shouldn't have read.
Stephanie was a big factor, right?
Oh, well.
She was a big factor as to what we're doing
It always sounds better the second time around.
Which invested $50 million
hey,
a
Triple
year
H.
into pediatric
Triple H
cancer
is back.
research. And today, in line with recommendations made by Secretary Kennedy and the Maha Commission, we're doubling that investment, adding another $50 million to Childhood Cancer Data Initiative. We're doing that immediately. And we have a lot of money coming in with the tariffs. We've never had money like this coming in. We're a rich country again. We were a dead country 1 year ago, and now we're the richest country. We're hot. We're a hot country. So it's an honor to do that. In honor of all of you, we're doing that, okay? With this order, I'm also directing the federal government to fully utilize artificial intelligence to supercharge pediatric cancer research. It's pretty amazing what's happening. For years, we've been amassing data about childhood cancer, but until now, we've been unable to fully exploit this trove of information and apply it to practical medicine. Using cutting-edge AI, we will empower scientists and researchers to discover new treatments, cures, and prevention strategies. AI can also make groundbreaking trials and therapies, and it's just going to be so accessible to everybody, families all across the country. So it's going to be amazing. What's happening is amazing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, they're implementing AI all over the place. At least it seems like they are. No wonder silver is exploding in value. Like silver's like what, $40, $43, $44 right now? Absolutely crazy. Because silver's in all that shit. It's in all the microelectronics. It's the most conductive metal on the periodic table. Which is why probably should have bought silver. Well, bought as much as I could have whenever it was cheaper. Now it's, I don't know though. Silver might actually go above $100. Probably will with, look, they're building all of this AI infrastructure, investing hundreds of billions of dollars into it. They got to use silver and gold. I'm sure that's probably another reason why gold's going up so much too. All right, GOP, in case you were wondering why Democrats fight so hard for criminal illegal immigrants, an illegal alien arrested by ICE was registered as an active Democrat voter in Maryland. Illegal alien arrested by ICE found registered as active Democrat voter in a blue state. We have no idea how widespread this is, said Maryland Republican Matt Morgan. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if they linked. I don't think they linked the article, did they? Oh, yeah, they did. Take a look at this. They actually did. Illegal alien arrested by ICE. So was this the superintendent? Is that who they're talking about? Ian Andre Roberts? Yeah, it is. The superintendent of the Des Moines Public Schools in Iowa. Okay, so the gist of this article is that they actually found out that he was also a registered Democrat, even though he was an illegal immigrant, and they had a judge signed an order for his deportation back in May of 2024, and he's basically been on the run ever since. And meanwhile, the school district in Des Moines, Iowa, the largest school district in the state, they appointed him to superintendent, which is fucking crazy. Anyway, so yeah, this will be linked below if you want to check that out from Fox News. I know I got more than one Fox News article. Politics, does that start with politics? Yeah, of course it does. So this one's Fox News Politics Sham, because I know YouTube, they like to cut off the links. So this one starts with the illegal. Anyway, so that'll be down there if you want to take a look at that. Next one. Secretary Marco Rubio met with the Prime Minister, MP Kamala, to discuss the strong U.S. Trinidad and Tobago partnership on regional security, counter narcotics cooperation, and energy development. I also commended their government's effort to counter transnational criminal organizations, curb illicit firearms and narcotics trafficking, and support Haiti through the proposed UN Support Office and Haiti Gang Suppression Force. Oh, there you are. Both of them together today. When was that posted? Was that earlier? Yeah, it was 5 hours ago. All right, so yeah, about 5 o'clock this afternoon. And this comes from Speaker Mike Johnson about the government shutdown again. Chuck Schumer and his party are planning to shut down the government simply to oppose President Trump and appease their far-left base. Sadly, it's the American people who will suffer because of the Democrat shutdown.
Credit President Trump, showing real leadership. He's operating in good faith, and that was on display by bringing the leaders in. How they got
the donkey down here in the corner?
He heard the arguments and the debates. They're baseless. I mean, Chuck Schumer is now
arguing
exactly the opposite of what he has always said in his career. And why?
Nothing less
you
from
hit
the mainstream media.
The nail right on the head, Sean. He's doing it out of political desperation. He is willing to force the government to shut down just to oppose President Trump for temporary political cover for himself, and he will abandon the American people.
So remember this image. I've actually got something that President Trump on his X account, I got something that he tweeted out of this image here. So we'll get to that here
just
in a minute.
Just to do that. It's really something to watch.
All right. Yeah, I would not be surprised if CNN has the exact same countdown clock and it says Republican shutdown countdown. It would not surprise me. Congresswoman Erin Huchin, we're hours away from a Democrat-led shutdown that the majority of Americans do not support. Troops won't be paid. TSA agents, yeah, so we got that one. All because Democrats refuse to stand up to their far-left base. So this is from the New York Times. The New York Times. Views on whether the Democrats should or should not shut down the government if their demands are not met. This is regard all respondents. Only 27% said that they should. 65% said they shouldn't. Even Democrats, even 47% said should, and even less, 43% said should not, which typical of Democrats, of course. But even still, you think that would be more like Republicans, where it says only 5% said they should and 92% said they shouldn't. You think that Democrats would be kind of cited on the opposite end of the spectrum with regard to that, but they're not. So I think that should speak volumes with regard to that. Independents, 32 yes, 59 no. Yeah, they're in trouble, man. I don't just can't believe they're doing it. I think they're just committed at this point. All they know how to do these days is just double down. From the FTC, who's eligible for a refund from Amazon? Learn more about the refund process. So, spoiler alert, it's going to be automated. So, if you believe you're entitled to a refund, or if you're pretty sure that you are going to get one, it's going to be automatically sent to you either way. I'm assuming they're probably going to put it into your Amazon account. I don't know if they're going to give it to you in cash, or if they're going to drop it in as a, Amazon, like a gift card or something. That would be my guess. So you might have heard that last week, Amazon agreed to pay $2.5 billion to settle the FTC's charges that it enrolled millions of people in Prime subscriptions without their consent, and then made it hard for those unwilling Prime subscribers to cancel. Since $1.5 billion of that amount goes back to consumers, you might be wondering who gets it, how, and what do I need to do? Last question first. Right now, do nothing. The refunds are automatic and will go out by December 25th of this year. Now for the answers to the other questions. Let's see. You may be eligible for an automatic refund of your Prime membership fees of only $51. So if you do the math, $1.5 billion divided by $51, it's something like $20 million, isn't it? It's in the tens of millions. So it's a lot of people. So it sounds like pretty much anybody who's enrolled in Prime is probably going to get a discount, I would think. Or a refund, rather. All right, so divided by what? 51 bucks? Yeah, 29, about 30 million. And it says up to $51, so some people might even get less. So the number might actually be over 30 million. So that's a lot of people. If you're a US-based Amazon Prime customer, if you signed up for a membership between June 23rd, 2019 and June 23rd of 2025, through one of the enrollment flows the FTC challenged in its case, or you unsuccessfully tried to cancel your Amazon Prime membership between those same dates. So with regard to this, FTC secures historic $2.5 billion settlement against Amazon. So they've got more details on that here with the amounts and everything. The settlement requires Amazon to stop their unlawful practices and make meaningful changes to their Prime enrollment and cancellation flows by the following. They've got 4 points regarding that. So that'll be linked if you want to take a look at that. And where did it go? I lost it. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought it opened up a new tab. All right, so anyway, number 3, you use less than 3 Prime benefits, such as watching a Prime video or listening to Amazon Music in any 12-month period after you enrolled in Prime. Well, I'm definitely getting that because I never watch Prime video and I never listen to Amazon Music. Like, the occasion that I buy something on Amazon, it's only just to, I guess take advantage of the quote-unquote free shipping, even though it's not free because you're still paying Prime. So one more important thing, scammers often use the names of well-known companies and big FTC settlements to contact people to quote-unquote help you with your account or refund. So be on the lookout for that. If you hear of anybody, or if you know anybody who's getting a call from someone saying that they're wanting to give you an Amazon refund, and if they show an article like this, or if they even show the FTC article or anything like that, just know nobody's going to call you about it. It's going to be automatically deposited into your account. Automatically. So nobody's going to call you regarding this. And if they do, they're a scammer. All right. From Department of War news, unfit, undertrained troops are no longer tolerated. This is directly from war.gov. Physical fitness and combat training standards will be raised, said Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who spoke today to an audience of hundreds of generals, admirals, and senior enlisted personnel at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. Those same standards will apply to both genders, he said, be it for the combat fitness test or weapons qualification. Every active component service member will be required to exercise vigorously every duty day and take 2 physical fitness tests annually. In a memorandum Hegseth signed today, quote, military fitness standards, and quote, he wrote that National Guard and Reserve component service members will take personal responsibility to maintain an appropriate physical fitness regimen, regardless of duty status, and complete 1 fitness test annually aligned with their combat or non-combat arms designation. Overweight troops and their leaders will no longer be tolerated, Pete Hegseth said. All right. So I'll move on to the next thing. Again, like everything else, it's linked below. from USCIS, quote, immigration fraud undermines our lawful immigration system, harms those who follow the law, and poses risks to national security and public safety. Under the president, we will leave no stone unturned through partnerships like Operation Twin Shield. And we already went over that, so I don't have to go over that again. It might even have been from Daily Caller. Actually, no, it's not, but that's all right. I already got an article with regard to that. Caroline Leavitt, Democrats are celebrating and taking selfies as they get ready to shut down the federal government and inflict massive pain on the American people. This is from House Democrats. Look at this shit. House Democrats are in D.C. and ready to cancel the cuts, lower the costs, and save healthcare. Look at that, man. It's party time for them. Bringing on the federal government shutdown. I guess as far as they're concerned, well, at least we don't have to go to work as long as it's shut down. Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill, I never thought I'd say this, but Hillary Clinton nailed it here. What? At HHS, we are protecting Medicaid to help Americans and only Americans. This is from Libs of TikTok. Hillary Clinton, we should not give taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens or encourage illegal immigration. I was told this is far-right extremism. I know, right?
As to illegal aliens, we agree with you that we do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
Yeah, and one thing that Democrats have made a grave miscalculation on is that when it comes to the percentage of Americans who don't want illegal immigrants in our country, it's relatively unchanged, I would imagine. It hasn't changed nearly as much as Democrats might think that it has. Still, the vast majority of the country does not want illegal immigrants here at all, especially taking advantage of our tax money. And that was in response to Elon Musk. Funny to think that Bill Clinton's policies when he was president were essentially MAGA. Yeah, compared to the Democrats today, they probably were. They probably were aligned a lot more closely with Republican policies today as opposed to Democrats. They've just completely fallen off the leftist cliff. Another one from Caroline Leavitt. President Trump and Republicans want the government to stay open. Democrats want to shut down the government. And this is from Rapid Response 47 from the president. It looks like it's a direct quote from him, so
they are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested, so the last person that wants it shut down is us now.
No shit.
With that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse.
Amen.
And, we're cutting that. But they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say, the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And, Gavin Newsom wants that, too, in California, and it's destroying California. We can't have that. We're not going to let it happen.
Well, and have you noticed that Democrats aren't pushing back against that and saying, no, we don't want to give health care to illegal immigrants? They're not. Even Maxine Waters obviously wasn't pushing back on that point at all because that is what they want. And it's absolutely crazy. $17 trillion invested. Well, plus, I didn't even take that into consideration that when the government's shut down, that the executive branch may have certain powers afforded to them to be able to make certain cuts because there's no funding to certain areas of the government. And if there's no funding, they probably could make permanent cuts. So I don't know, man. We'll just have to wait and see. I would not be the least bit surprised if President Trump starts using that as a bargaining chip. If you don't reopen the government, I'm going to slash, 10,000 of these workers. I'm going to slash 20,000 of these workers. Look, I get Trump. He's got to help keep the Republican Party propped up, especially with the midterms coming up. However, with regard to him personally, I mean, he's here to service the American people above all else. And I'm sure that's by far above his interest with the Republican Party. So he might actually get that bold and he might actually start threatening to start laying off large swaths of the federal government. That would be a really wild, man. We'll just have to see. I'm sure he's got something up his sleeve. Speaker Mike Johnson, if Democrats truly cared about protecting health care for Americans, they would have supported Republicans' working families tax cut that strengthens Medicaid for Americans who need and deserve it. Our bill removed illegal aliens and able-bodied young men from the rolls, eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, including removal of 2.3 million improper enrollments so far, and saving taxpayers $185 billion. Now Democrats want to shut down the American government to give American taxpayer-funded health care to non-Americans.
Yes, because they got in the back room and they decided that would be smart
because that is what they
strategy.
want.
It is not based on the facts. They're claiming that we gutted health care because we made reforms to Medicaid. You know what we did in the big, beautiful bill? We kicked able-bodied young men off of Medicaid. They should have never been in there in the first place.
I'm sure the Democrats love that.
Temporary assistance that provided for
I think they really love
on
that.
their luck for the disabled and the elderly. We had young men playing video games all day, riding the wagon. That's disgusting, and our bill fixed that.
Well, to be honest, I would push back with the same issue with women as well, especially if they have school-aged children, at least in the first grade. Look, they're going to school for like 7 straight hours. You can go out there and work part-time. I mean, they shouldn't have any excuse either.
It came out just 3 or 4 weeks ago, the CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office that the Democrats love to cite all the time. They came out and said the Republicans were right. They have cut premiums in health care. Why? Because they got ineligible recipients off of Medicaid, and they cut out their fraud, waste, and abuse. $185 billion already. So our programs and our reforms were to fix and save Medicaid for the people it's actually intended for. And Democrats hate that. So they're using it as a talking point.
Do.
That's a red herring. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the temporary funding measure, again, just to keep the government open.
Yep, and that's just typical of Democrats. Just dump endless amounts of money into just endless programs. All right, Tom Emmer. For decades, Democrats have warned against the dangers of a government shutdown. They'd like you to forget, but here's a helpful reminder. House Republicans did our job by passing a clean CR, but will Democrats take their own advice? This should be interesting.
To hold these people hostage, instead of just letting them do their jobs, which they want to do while we work out our differences, so wrong.
It is not normal to hold 800,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want. And it is certainly not normal to starve the people we serve for a proposal that is wildly unpopular among the American people.
The American people are tired of our country being held hostage and our economy threatened.
I know, as your fellow citizens,
they should take their own advice.
That the people who are affected by this shutdown are public servants.
If the government shuts down on Tuesday, military personnel, including those risking their lives overseas for us right now, will not get paid on time.
A government shutdown of any duration would harm hardworking Americans and our economy.
Why should we ask TSA
Did you notice the Ukraine flag that you had?
Hard-earned pay while they protect our airports.
If the government shuts down, allegiance. The average Americans who suffer most.
Some who right now are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent, how they're going to make mortgage payments, how they're going to keep college payments going.
Well, they don't give a fuck about that now.
How they're going to keep food on the table.
Head Start teachers won't get paid. Our wildfire fighters won't get paid. Federal prison guards won't get paid.
A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos. Our veterans could see regional VA offices shut down and support services put on hold.
Shutdowns are not good for the economy.
Shutdowns cost taxpayers billions of dollars per week.
And you know what? That's probably truly the main reason why they want to shut down the federal government, because Trump's economy is doing way too well. Again, not for the middle class, not everyday people who live paycheck to paycheck. You know, we're still suffering a lot ever since the inflation bullshit happened. I think that might be why they're doing it, because they're demanding so much money for healthcare for illegal immigrants, dude. That is a non-starter, and they know it. They know it's a non-starter. They know they cannot agree to anything with regard to funding anything for illegal immigrants at all. And I think that's what they want. It's not even a Hail Mary, man. It's almost political suicide, really, to shut down the government, because it is going to negatively impact tons of Democrats. And I get the only thing I could think of is that they want to do whatever they can to try to, I guess, cripple the economy. And I don't know if a government that shut down for, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, how bad would that really be for the economy? Because I truly think Democrats will hold out that long. I really do. I think they probably will. I think we're going to be looking at potentially a long-term government shutdown. I don't know what the longest shutdown was. I can look that up. But anyway, I'll finish this first.
I assure the public, a shutdown would have been the greatest disaster we have. Everything bad happened. I had to give people this warning. But a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. Here's what makes it worse. There's no off-ramp. Who determines how long the shutdown would last?
Yep, that's what they want to do, in my opinion. They want to try to cripple Trump's economy. So let me just ask. Actually, hold on. I got Grok up right here. Let me just ask. Oh, crap. I forgot to ask. Short answer. Because it'll give me a really long-winded response. All right, while it's doing its thing, from Senator Dick Durbin, deploying masked federal agents in downtown Chicago is a waste of resources and a lousy intimidation tactic. Tackling violent crime is a serious matter. The solutions need to be serious, too. I mean, that's kind of contradictory, you think? I mean, I don't think violent crime's going to be rampant if you got a bunch of those guys hanging around. I think I responded to that. What did I say to this? Oh, I said that's contradictory. Okay. Hey, great minds think alike. No, just kidding. All right, let's see what Grok came up with. 35 days? That's it? 35 days? The longest U.S. government shutdown lasted 35 days, from December 22nd of 2018 to January 25th, 2019. Of course, the fucking Democrats, because it was under the Trump administration. So I think they're going to look to smash that record during a budget dispute over border wall funding under President Trump. Dude, these people are fucking evil. They're evil as hell. Yep, I think we're going to shatter that. I think we're going to go potentially for months because Democrats are not going to back off it because why would they? They're committed at this point. And they're operating like they got nothing to lose because they really don't have much to lose at this point. So I really think they're just going to hold out. They're just going to stick to their guns. And you know, if history tends to rhyme with itself, Republicans eventually will fucking cave. They'll cave and say, fine, we'll give you $100 billion or we'll give you $50 billion. I hope they don't. I really hope they don't because, yes, it's not going to be good for the economy. There's going to be a lot of other problematic things that end up happening. Hopefully, hopefully Trump's got the power to really hit them somewhere that's really going to hurt them bad to the point where they have no choice but to allow it to reopen and just concede defeat. We'll just have to wait and see. I think Trump's got something planned, though. He's always got something planned. Caroline Levitt, President Trump deploys federal resources to crush violent radical left terrorism in Portland. Here we go, just 13 hours ago, so it's going to get hot and heavy tonight in Portland. Matter of fact, where did that tab go? Let me see if I can bring up something here with regard to see if there's anything live. I bet there's some live streamers on the ground. I was watching on Sunday night what was going on in Portland, and there were hundreds of thousands of people watching live. Probably over 1 million people were watching live, so I would imagine it's going to be very watched tonight if they've got live streamers down there. Here we go. Live protest, riot coverage in Chicago and Portland. They don't say how many. Oh, 800 people watching. That's not very many, really. Let's see. Okay, so those were... You know what? Can I actually... Yeah, I can filter this to change it to live, right? Yeah, here we go. All right, so really not much going on, at least not right now. No. But again, it's 10:37 Eastern, so it's only 7:30 over there right now. That's probably why, because the Antifa and all those, psychopathic leftists, they prefer to come out at night. Although this one's live.
Equal Nazis. Look at that sign.
Well, of course, they're in front of Trump Tower. This would be in Chicago. That is not live, though. It's nighttime in Chicago right now. All right, anyway, I'll probably watch a little bit of that in a couple hours if anybody goes live. But yeah, the other night, there were a few live streamers. They were pulling in hundreds of thousands of people who were tuned into that. Oh, shit. meant to read a little bit of this. So let's go into this just a little bit. The radical left's reign of terror in Portland ends now with President Donald J. Trump mobilizing. Oh, man, I got to scale it back to this stupid social media bullshit. I wish they'd get rid of that. With Donald J. Trump mobilizing federal resources to stop Antifa-led hellfire in its tracks, while Democrat politicians deny reality, it's obvious what's happening in Portland isn't protest, it's premeditated anarchy and has scarred the city for years, leaving officers battered, citizens terrorized, and property defaced. Since early June, Antifa militants have laid siege to the ICE field office in South Portland. These lunatics have violently breached the facility by using a stop sign as a battering ram, hurled explosives and other projectiles, burned an American flag, repeatedly assaulted, attacked, and injured officers with pepper spray, rocks, bricks, and trash, doxed officers, which is why they wear masks, berated neighbors, and even rolled out a guillotine. I just don't understand why they're just not arresting a man. If you're assaulting, then that comes with up to a 20-year federal prison sentence if you assault an officer, a federal officer. As part of the ongoing siege, dozens have been arrested and charged with disgraceful crimes such as arson, assaulting federal officers, and resisting arrest for their part in the mayhem. It's just the latest chapter of violence in Portland at the hands of Antifa and the radical left, and they've got probably a really long list. Yeah, quite a list. So I'll link that if you want to read through all of these instances where there was violence against federal officers at the hands of ICE and the radical leftists. Another one from Caroline Levitt, New York Times poll, which we basically already went through. 65% of Americans say the Democrats should not shut down the government, even if their demands are not met. So yeah, we went over that already. From Marjorie Taylor Greene, Americans are getting crushed by health insurance with monthly payments of $1,500, $1,700, over $2,000 a month. Instead of a revolving door of foreign government leaders to the White House, I'd like to see health insurance CEOs in there getting chewed out on live television. Health insurance is out of control. She got a like from me because I totally agree with that. And I think they should just get down to the root of the problem. They should get down to the cost of healthcare goods and services. And I don't know if that's something the government could or should regulate. I don't know if the government should, I don't know, about a week ago, I used an example like an IV. If you go to the hospital and if you look at your itemized bill, typically the cost of an IV, the nurse putting the IV in your arm, they got the saline bag up, it's like $700 just to have that IV administered. And it costs, they mass produce those things. It costs no more than like 10 or 20 bucks to produce an entire IV kit. Plus it takes a nurse. I know they get paid per hour. I don't know if it's like $50 an hour or something. It only takes them like 10 seconds. Well, okay, it takes them like probably 3 to 4 minutes to get the equipment, to administer it, from start to finish. Anyway, where I'm getting at, it's not going to cost the hospital more than like $30 at the very most for administering an IV to a patient. So why are they charging $700? So maybe they should set some cap to where they can't profit more than, let's say, 300% off of any given goods or services that they provide. I don't know. I don't think that's a good answer. I think that's a very dangerous direction to head into, because then they might start applying that to pretty much every aspect of the economy, which of course would be really bad for capitalism. I just don't know. I don't know how you do that, because we can't boycott healthcare because you can't control when you get sick and when you don't get sick. We could boycott Bud Light, we could boycott Target, but you can't really boycott the healthcare industry, not really. So it's really a conundrum that we're stuck in. All right, but anyway, this is from Donald J. Trump's account here on X at Real Donald Trump. This is hilarious.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it.
This is from just the other day. Remember when I mentioned that?
Anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our
woke
trans
the music.
bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English. So
oh my God.
They won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, at least for a while, until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
Oh, wow, man. That was amazing. Almost 400,000 likes, 28 million people laid eyes on that. That is hilarious. I didn't watch it. All I saw was it auto playing on my phone when I was scrolling through content today, but I noticed the sombrero. Like, all right, I got to show this. I didn't realize that they had changed his words around, which of course is satire. Calm down, Democrats. We take things a lot less literally over here than what you do over there. Of course, they'd be calling that hate speech all up and down. You got to arrest him and throw him in prison. You must impeach Trump for that. All right, Stephen Miller, calling all patriots. USCIS is now hiring Homeland Defenders. Are you looking for a new job? Well, the federal government's hiring for these. Your job will be to interview applicants for green cards and work visas and citizenship for approval or denial. It has great pay, flexible hours, and you can stay local. Sign up to be a Homeland Defender today. And he reposted Homeland Security. Quote, those who do not want to be partakers of the American spirit ought not to settle in America. That's from Calvin Coolidge. Become a Homeland Defender today at uscis.gov/join. I don't know if they have the link to it or not, but I read it, so you can go there. No, it just looks like just comments and whatnot. All right, FBI Director Kash Patel. FBI Portland just took down a residence of a suspect who allegedly targeted CBP officers. All 4 individuals located in the house are in the U.S. illegally and now in custody. Come after law enforcement officers, and this FBI will put you away. This is fucking hilarious. Dude shined a laser at a police helicopter like the fucking dumb fuck that he is. And he got all of them arrested and deported because his stupid ass had to shine a fucking laser. Anyway, FBI Portland and our federal partners at FPS, DHS, and HSI Seattle searched a residence associated with the subject who is alleged to have aimed a laser at CBP helicopter conducting law enforcement activity in the skies over Portland, as well as another aircraft in the area on 9/27. So these are still images, but you can see the laser there. And they drew a little red arrow right where he's standing on the front porch. What a stupid ass. So anyway, it says agents made contact with the subject as well as 3 other inhabitants who were at the residence. All 4 suspects are in the U.S. illegally and were placed into the custody of ERO Seattle personnel. FBI Portland. The laser that was used was acquired during the course of the investigation. The federal government will not tolerate violence against federal officers, nor will we tolerate assaults on personnel, commercial or government aircraft. And they've got a link, but that's the gist of it. If you want to get into the details, it'll be linked below. Is it going to be through Portland? Or no, it's going to be through the FAA. Oh, so it's just going over guidelines like don't shine a laser at anything, which I think everybody should know by now. And I think is that it? Yeah, looks like that is all I've got for this evening. It was a long one, man. I think I had like 53 or 54 posts that I went over. How long did I go for? Oh yeah, man, over 2 hours. This is one of my longer ones. So all these links that I got, they're all going to be linked down there in the description if you want to check those out. Any of those individual articles and links. And I'll keep an eye on what's going on. It's Tuesday, so we've got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I got 3 more days of this week to do the swamp in the evenings. And I'll just keep an eye on the government shutdown. We'll see what they're talking about. And I'll just keep watching for everything that's going on. And I'll be right back here tomorrow evening. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening covering the swamp and everyone living in it. The politicians and those bureaucrats, all those agencies and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X too, so feel free to comment over there as well if you'd like. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.